Hi, this is Coach Colette, and welcome back to another episode of Financial Fridays. Well, I thought that I would close out BIPOC Mental Health Month by sharing some good news. Thanks to Mental Health America, I am able to share with you some insights that I have learned about Black pioneers in the field of mental health. And I wanted to share a few of these folks with you because they were new to me, and I imagine they also might be new to you. The first is Dr. Maxie Clarence Maultsby, who was the founder of the psychotherapeutic method of rational behavioral therapy. His contributions include making emotional self-help a legitimate focus of scientific research and clinical use, which is amazing to me given that I am an EFT or emotional freedom technique practitioner, which is an evidence-based modality and is an aspect of self-help. The technique of cognitive behavioral therapy and counseling that Dr. Maultsby created was the first comprehensive short-term culture and drug-free technique of psychotherapy that produced long-term therapeutic results. The next person is Mamie Phipps Clark. She was the first Black woman to earn a doctorate degree in psychology from Columbia University. Her groundbreaking research on the impact of race on child development helped to end segregation and was influential in desegregation efforts, including the Brown versus Board of Education decision in 1954. In February 1946, Dr. Clark and her husband opened the Northside Center for Child Development, which was created to provide comprehensive psychological services to BIPOC children and their families, and that center still exists today. The next person is Jacki McKinney. She's a family advocate specializing in issues that affect Black women and their children. She's a founding member of the National People of Color Consumer Survivor Network. She's been a consultant and advisor to the Center for Mental Health Services and is well known for making moving presentations to diverse audiences on issues such as seclusion and restraint, intergenerational family support, and BIPOC issues in public mental health. And the last person that I'll introduce you to today is Linda James Myers. Dr. Myers specializes in psychology and culture, and she focuses on healing practices and psychotherapeutic processes. She also concentrates on the intersections of race, gender, and class. And we all know that we talk so much about intersectionality, the fact that we can't just separate different aspects of our identities when we are looking at issues of mental health. And her insights are built on the wisdom traditions of African deep thought, which I think is very amazing to bring back these traditions that are often overlooked when we are looking at delivering care. So I hope that you have gained some insight during these weeks of BIPOC mental health, and I encourage you to continue to explore different aspects of mental health. Now get ready and listen up to today's tip from Singh.
Hello everyone, this is Singh, aka Investing of the Investing Podcast with your weekly Financial Friday tip. With the financial earnings season upon us, many of us get worried about whether our stocks are doing well or will they beat earnings and will the stock move up or down during, after, and before their earnings. Usually what happens is perception is reality, so if the public thinks and the markets think the company can grow, usually the stock moves higher. If not, then the stock usually moves lower. However, it depends in this environment with the pandemic that future growth, people are banking on future growth rather than the numbers that are going on right now. With that said, that is your weekly Financial Friday tip, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
Hi, this is Coach Colette, and you are tuned in to this unplugged segment. This has been an interesting week for me. I have received a lot of no's this week, if you will, from various funding opportunities that I've submitted proposals to. And there's always that tendency when you get any form of rejection to feel like, why did I even bother submitting? Or they don't really understand what it is that I'm trying to do. And so as I allowed myself to have the sadness and the disappointment and the frustration, I've also been staying aware of what's happening outside of my world. And that often is a way to help me get a little bit back on track. And so I was fortunate to turn on the news just in time to hear Barack Obama deliver the eulogy at the funeral of Representative John Lewis. And then I found out that he had written an op-ed for the New York Times and asked that it be published on the day of his funeral, which is something I think is completely profound and compelling. And I shared this also on Instagram so that you can also take a look at that as well. There were a few components of what he shared that really resonated with me. You know, this whole concept of good trouble that has been part of his journey. And one of the quotes that he shared was, "I urge you to answer the calling of your heart and stand up for what you truly believe." As I keep doing the healing and wellness work that I am doing, I feel like that it does come from a deeper calling. Although I must admit that there are times where I question why, or for whom, or who are these people? Where are these people that I'm called to help? Getting those no's can cause me to question, is this the right path? And yet, like I said, I am inspired by the legends such as John Lewis. And I feel like that these past 5 or 6 months of the lockdown and the racial uprising have really led me to double down on my mission to help BIPOC leaders, BIPOC women to heal from trauma. And there are times where I don't know how that's going to happen. And then I'll have someone reach out and say, I was looking for someone to help me with this and be able to listen to me and hold space for me in a way that doesn't re-trigger my trauma. And yes, those are my words. They don't speak about it in that way, but that's the essence, right? Being seen, being heard, being validated for your lived experiences. And so in this op-ed, John Lewis also says, ordinary people with extraordinary vision can redeem the soul of America by getting in what I call good trouble, necessary trouble. I want to share that you may already know what your good trouble is. You might be getting into that good trouble right now. And if so, I applaud you and let me know how I can support you. And if you're not sure what your good trouble is, that's okay too, because the more you listen and tune in and start within, the more you'll start to figure out what it is. And I mentioned that I heard Barack Obama speaking and eulogizing this week, and I noticed that there was a fire inside that I hadn't felt in, honestly, a little while as he was speaking and talking about what we're dealing with in terms of efforts to push back voting rights and all of the things that we are dealing with in this country. Shortly thereafter, there was a news segment about these two groups, one in Queens and one in Harlem, that are seeking to stop the violence by providing healing services, and they're doing so in RVs. And something about this news segment just stuck out to me. I'm sharing all of this to let you know that I'm in the midst of continuing to discover my good trouble and am really fired up, as you might hear from this segment of Unplugged. I want you to find your good trouble and all of us to continue to utilize our voices and tell our stories, and also to listen to one another, to create safe spaces so that we all can share our stories, learn from one another. All right, I'm going to get off the soapbox now before I start rambling on. So have a wonderful weekend, be safe, be well, and I hope you find your good trouble. So what is your takeaway from this week's Financial Fridays segment? What might you do differently around your money and your mindset? For more financial advice, you can check out Suki's podcast, Invest Singh, where I also share tips on his Wellness Wednesdays segment. If you enjoyed this episode and haven't already subscribed, you can do so on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you like to listen. You can also connect with me on Instagram at Coach_Colette for more inspiration on personal growth and wellness. Tune in next Friday for another episode and get ready to start within to finish strong.